Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. Okay, so we're talking about my speeding tickets. This is volume 2 of the 2-part series on the various speeding tickets. We talked in the other one about my my ticket for, originally for 127 in a 35, and at least that's what I was going. Ended up getting dismissed, so it's a great story. So please take a look at it if you haven't seen it already. It's going to be the video numbered in sequence just below this one. So I don't know the number sequence until I upload everything. So anyway, the second ticket I got was for in excess of 120 in a 65, and that was not good. It actually resulted in a 3-county roadblock that they did twice. The second time they the first time they set the roadblock up behind us. Now, if you want to piss off every law enforcement officer for 3 counties, then blow a roadblock by going so fast that they set the roadblock up behind you. That pisses them off. So we were at NS Expo in Corning, New York, and there were 4 of us. The organizers had one day which there was no track event and no social event or anything, and so really the responsibility for our misbehavior really falls on the organizers. You guys really need to plan better. So, but this is the 2004 NS Expo. I'm driving a 2000 highly modified black Acura NSX that I've posted on some of my answers on Quora. You do a search on Gordon Miller and NSX, you'll probably find the photos. So the interesting part about it is the fact that we took a break for lunch. We found this great bed and breakfast inn that was like 2 hours away, and we drove around in the area for a while. We took a couple hours for lunch, and then we realized that the award ceremony that we all needed to be at started at 5. The reception did, and then the dinner was after that, and the award ceremony. And Sterling Moss and a bunch of other people were there. So we're like, okay, well, we got to get back. I mean, that's and it's like, well, it's 2 hours away, and it's like 4 o'clock. So we're like, okay, well, we gotta hurry. Well, that was not good. So we jumped onto the highway. There was 4 of us in a row, all in NSXs. There's 3 red NSXs and my black one. I was in the back, and we came onto the on-ramp at about 120 miles an hour. And at that time, we were merging with some traffic. There was an old lady that we went around, and I'm sure she wasn't very happy. She's probably the one who called 911 when that happened. So, a bad idea. I don't know. And again, I'm the first one to admit it. I don't think anybody should be driving that fast on public roads. It's the last time I ever did that on public roads. Nowadays, I stay right at the speed limit or pretty close to it. So, I've been on almost every racetrack on the East Coast. So if I want to go driving fast, I'll put it on the racetrack. I can go as fast as the car can go and still stay on the track. So, but we made our way through traffic, and we got to a break where there wasn't a whole lot of traffic. And I even took a picture of it. So I have a picture of all 4 of us in a line. I had the top off the NSX. It was a target top. And so I have a picture out the roof of the car of all 4 of us in line and not another car in sight. And that was about 5 minutes before everything changed. We had radios and everything, so I radioed the guys, and I'm like, man, there's nobody out on these roads. It's crazy. And they're like, yeah, we got the whole place to ourselves. Yeah. So we're going like 128, 130 miles an hour. And in New York, they have overpasses. So, you see the overpasses, and after about 2 or 3 minutes, every overpass we hit, about every half a mile or so, had a New York State trooper parked at it, and he was standing up over the bridge. And man, I was like, wow, that looks like a state trooper. Well, there's no on-ramp and off-ramp on this particular interstate, so I'm like, well, I'm glad he's up there. And then we saw another one and another one, and I was like, oh man, this is not good. So we got to a rise where we couldn't see over the rise, and we crossed the rise, and there about a quarter of a mile ahead of us was literally 30 police officers. They were across both sides of the 2-lane highway. They were in the median. They were on the shoulders. They were, X number of, cars deep, back to back. So, we weren't going to blow through the roadblock. So we pulled up about an eighth of a mile from the roadblock. We went ahead and just pulled over. Ironically, we pulled up like literally 100 yards from the 55 mile an hour speed limit sign, but we were in a 65 zone, so we made sure we stopped in the 65 zone. But the photos that we have from the scene show the 55 mile an hour speed limit sign there, which I thought was funny. But needless to say, it was not pleasant. I mean, we all had our wives with us, and they pulled over 400 grand worth of cars, and they thankfully, the organizers for NSX Expo 2004 was a Commonwealth of New York Commonwealth's attorney, and so they had notified the state police that a bunch of NSXs were going to be there. There's 128 of us that weekend, or that week. It was a short week, so they knew who to call. They called him. He was at the award ceremony, getting ready, and he managed to make sure that we didn't go to jail. So that was nice. We were probably up roadside for an hour and a half to 2 hours. I mean, the paperwork was ridiculous. I mean, they got to do all four of us. They did us one at a time. They did not want to break the roadblock because they were afraid we would escape. But they eventually opened the road back up. So long story short, we end up all having tickets, and I have a picture I'll have to find where we're all holding up our tickets that night at the ceremony when we finally got there, and it was not funny. It was funny at the time, only barely. We dubbed ourselves the Corning Four, and the now infamous Corning Four. But the aftermath was something that I really wasn't prepared for. Ultimately I didn't go to jail. We lawyered up, and he represented all four of us. We all waived our individual right to counsel, and he dealt with all of it. The lawyer's fees alone were like $10,000, as I recall. So our defense to keep us out of jail was like 40 grand. And we each had to pay to reimburse the state of New York and the counties for the cost of both roadblocks. We didn't even find out about the first roadblock until we got sent the bill as part of our process for the conviction. So it stood on our record. They wrote it for I think it was 75. No, it was in excess of 80 in a 65, and at 80 miles an hour, it was they could have written us for reckless driving. Anything over 80 is reckless. Anything over 80 could result in jail time, and that's true in a lot of states. West Virginia is like that. I believe Virginia is like that. So even though the speed limit is 70 in some places, if you're going over 80, you're probably going to get 30 days of jail time. And typically they suspend 27 days and make you spend a weekend in jail, which usually gets most people's attention. I thankfully have never gone to jail for anything, and that's good. But I learned my lesson that day. The car sat in the garage for 6 months, and it never moved. I finally sold it because I just didn't feel like I'd ever drive it like that again. And the car was so highly modified, it was a shame. So I went ahead and passed it on to somebody else, and I drove something slower. But I have to say, for anybody who's thinking about going out there and running over 80 miles an hour on public roads, you're a lunatic, and it's really irresponsible. I mean, we didn't realize at the time just how dangerous it was for the other people who aren't used to driving around people who are driving that fast. The difference in speed between the people driving 65 miles an hour and us at 130 is way too big for most people to know how to react. It was very dangerous. I don't recommend it. And really this video is more of a public service announcement against these types of antics. So I put it out there because, you know, I've had, you know, simple 5, 8, 10 mile an hour speed, you know, infractions, you know, nothing really significant. But these two, the one with the Porsche 911 twin turbo in town, and this one on the highway with the 2000 Acura NSX, is really those two, which happened within 2 years of each other. That was it for me. I decided that I was not going to drive that way anymore. It wasn't worth the risk to other people. It wasn't worth the cost because the reimbursement for the roadblock, my part was $10,000. So that speeding ticket cost each of us 20 grand. You know, we reimbursed the state of New York $40,000. We paid our attorney $40,000. And the result was I was actually banned from New York State for a year. You know, and I had clients in New York, so I had to go to New York City, and I couldn't do it. I had to tell them, it's like I can't come to New York. You'll have to come visit me. But you know, the ban was lifted finally, and I was able to get out and do what I needed to do. But you know, I just wanted to share the story because as exciting and everything as it was to be driving that fast like a moron on public highways, you know, I really feel that you have to understand, just like I don't want anybody driving drunk, I don't want anybody driving impaired, you know, with either drugs or even cold medicines that make you drowsy and things like that. You know, driving is really a responsibility. And most people don't understand that responsibility. And I'm grateful to the state of New York for reminding me about my responsibility as a citizen and to make sure that I made better choices. And I just want to pass that along. And so the story is humorous. You know, it's nice to think that you know, you can imagine us passing some off-ramp that they decide to set up the roadblock on, and we're already a half a mile to a mile further beyond where they are. So I'm sure they were really pissed off. They were very angry by the time they got to us. You know, I'm grateful to the organizers for NS Expo 2004. I'm grateful I didn't go to jail. But I think people need to understand that actions like that have consequences, and not everybody's gonna be as lucky as we were. And I'm just want everybody to understand that you know, I'm a big enough guy to admit when I'm wrong, and that activity was wrong. And I just want to pass that along. All right, thanks YouTube. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.